Well, good morning. Today is May 12th, 2021. I'm Stephen Wynn. This is the Healing the Heart of America course through the I Am Heart Meditation Studio. And today we're going to be exploring our continuing exploration of the five elements. Today is the fire element. And just to give some context here, fire is light. It's also heat. And we use both fire and heat and light in terms of healing ourselves and the planet. The way we purify through fire is by burning. There's a saying from India that we roast the seeds of karma in the fire of pure knowledge. We roast the seeds of karma in the fire of pure knowledge. Now, to translate that for our more common usage is we can use fire to burn up the wounds, the patterns, the issues, everything that may be causing us to react from our past experiences rather than reacting from our hearts. And that's what fire does. It's one of these great, powerful, purifying agents. All five of the elements are. Fire in the Western mystical tradition, the Western metaphysical tradition, is called by a being named Prince Oramesis and his consort Diana. And as they say in the Western metaphysical teachings, it's just amazing what this being can do for us. Fire is Agni in the Vedic tradition, and that's the very first word of the Rig Veda. Agni Mile, Agni. So we're dealing with a very powerful energy. What you'll discover when you start looking at the various mystical and metaphysical traditions of the world is that the various traditions use various elements. In India, they use fire and air. They use a lot of speech. They use fire ceremonies. They meditate with light. All the traditions use all the elements, believe me. The Chinese, with their Taoism, are more water and earth. They also use a lot of fire. Fire and water, water and fire, they call it. Kan and Li. So, and in the Christian and Jewish traditions, fire is equated with the divine. So John the Baptist says, I am baptizing you with water, but the one who will come after me will baptize you with fire, with the Holy Spirit. Moses speaks to a burning bush that is not consumed. It's not really burned. It's just a light-filled bush. He goes to the top of the mountain, and there's the light of God. So that's what we're playing with, we're exploring here today. And I'll throw out one more experience about the five elements and the heart. This is really more on the level of the DNA. Yesterday I mentioned how I had that experience of seeing the four chambers of the heart as earth, air, fire, and water, and the periocardial sac as this space that holds it all. And what also, I had another experience during that same course where I saw, can you guys hear that vacuum cleaner behind me?
No.
All right, good. I won't worry about it then. I asked her not to vacuum during this time, but anyway, I also I had this very clear vision. Like I say, it's like full Technicolor, which is very rare for me, where I saw the DNA double helix, and it was half dipped into this lake of water and spiraling around and half in, half out. And I realized I was seeing that at the very depth of our being, this DNA is half unmanifest and half manifest. And then I saw the four markers in the DNA molecule. They've got, I forget the names of them, but there's four different markers that vary in sequence and in pattern that create the DNA molecule. And I saw these four markers as earth, water, fire, and air. And then I said, but where's space? And again, the double helix strand itself lit up. And I realized that's what is holding these four elements in terms of the DNA. So it may seem like, we're doing these very simple breathing patterns, but this is a process that will heal our very DNA with remarkable effects. So let's just get started with our meditation. And let's sit up straight like we always do. And just, move around, get comfortable. Adjust the shoulders, the spine, whatever it takes. We want this for the top of the head to be lifted up. And instead of the jaw jutting forward, we allow the jaw to rest, relax back. All to create that spaciousness of the spine. So now let's just put our hands on our heart. Welcome our time together with our hearts connecting to every other heart. And just continue breathing like this for a moment. And always, like always, just check to notice what changes happen when you put your attention on your heart. And when you're ready, just let your hands down. And now let's say good morning or good evening to our breathing, this great friend, this great resource, our breath. And all we do is we notice the breath. How full is the breath out of the nostrils? Compare the inhale to the exhale, which is easier, which is longer. Now let's move on into the full breath. Start with a full exhale, pulling our abdominal muscles all the way back towards our spine. And then just continue. Full inhale, full exhale. We want the luxury of a full, steady, stately, magnificent breath. We're not rushing, we're not hyperventilating. Just the enjoyment, that full feeling of air. And again, let's take a moment to connect to the beings in our own spiritual lineage. Whatever beings have inspired you, taught you, guided you, just get a sense of their presence. As we do this full breath, let's exhale their presence into the world. Fill up with their presence. This morning is every morning here. We want to connect the beings, great spiritual beings who have our back, to ourselves and to the world in front of us. Now, invoke the presence of the great masters with this invocation from Hazrat Nag Khan. Toward the One, the perfection of love, harmony, beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the one heart, the spirit of guidance. And with that, we set the intention to develop the divine qualities of love, harmony, beauty, guidance. Invoke the presence of all the illuminated beings from every tradition. And we connect by our intention with the vastness of the universal heart. Now let's begin our formal practice of heart rhythm meditation. We inhale, exhale to the rhythm of our heart. Typically 8 heartbeats in, 8 heartbeats out. Whatever is right for you. Feel your pulse. If you can't feel your heart, put your fingers on your wrist, or simply count. Certainly in a group like this, you will just begin to match the rhythm of everyone else. Over time, you may find that your lung capacity increases, and it's easy to go to 10 heartbeats in, 10 heartbeats out, or from 6 to 8. This is fine. It's actually a nice thing to keep developing our lung capacity. It's a great factor in our health to have strong lung capacity. But we don't force it. We just sort of allow it to be the more natural breath. And those of you who are breathing in 3 or 4 heartbeats per breath, congratulations. Wherever you are is perfect. Just means you're in the process of recovering your lung capacity. You're doing exactly the right thing. And just keep this breath up. I haven't spoken about this for a number of days, so just to remind people. Always go to the name of your heartbeat, if you found such a name. If you have not, I invite you to pick the name of some great spiritual being, or it could be anyone in your life that has been a teacher for you. Ideally with a 2-syllable name. So if you're Christian, it might be Mary or Jesus. It might be Abba, Amma, mother or father. It might be Devi, if you're a Hindu, or Krishna or Rama, or Allah if you're a Sufi. And what we want to do is connect that to the heartbeat. Instead of just feeling the heartbeat, we allow the name to be associated with it. And this creates A powerful connection between you and this being. So far this week we've explored the earth element, element breath we breathe in and out through our nostrils. And then we explored the water element. Inhaling, bring the energy down from on high, filling our hearts. That's breathing in through the nose on the inhale, and exhale through slightly opened lips. We directed the water breath, the water energy, to wherever we needed healing. Of course, the water is cooling. It helps with inflammation. It creates flow. It's a very loving, very sweet breath. Very kind and compassionate, soft and gentle. It also helps with anywhere where there is flow in the body. So the whole circulatory system. If there's problems with circulation, you want to be doing the water breath. It helps with the lymphatic system, which is sort of the drainage system of the body. We have more lymph fluid than we do blood. It's actually a more important system in a sense. They're all equally important, but in the Ayurvedic tradition, there's almost no healing process that gets started without first addressing the lymph drainage system. And that's water, the water element. And today we're going to explore the fire element, this magnificent friend, the fire element that burns and purifies all the baggage, the emotional baggage that we have. The water would wash it away. A nice analogy would be like a driveway full of dirt clods, and you just, put the hose on the ground, and it just from underneath slowly and gently washes away all the dirt clods so you have a smooth surface again. With fire, it's different. It's the burning, powerful, unrelenting heat that just incinerates, turns any impurity into ashes. We speak of fire, and of course we think of fire like as in a campfire. But inside the body, it's the firing of every synapse. It's all the digestive system, the digestive tract, filled with the acid burning is really a fire. Hydrochloric acid digesting the food is really a fire. The more we do this fire breath, the stronger our metabolism is. Our metabolic rate increases. Now, the way the fire breath works, we'll now shift into this fire breath. We inhale through slightly open lips, and then we exhale through our nostrils. So let's just try that as a beginning step of the fire breath. Inhale through slightly open lips, And then close the lips and exhale through the nostril. And again, inhale through slightly open lips. Exhale through the nose. Just continue that for a second. That's the basic practice that aligns us with the element of fire. But we're going to go much deeper into this pattern. Pull it more into different parts of the body to allow that connection with the fire element to grow even more powerfully within us. So the fire element really lives in our solar plexus. Solar meaning sun, fire. In our bodies in a solar plexus. And that solar plexus is, if you just follow your ribs down to your sternum, that soft point in there is your solar plexus. Most of you all will know that already. But what I want you to do now is when you inhale through your slightly open lips, just like it's a directed breath, breathe into the solar plexus. Let the air sort of go all the way back toward the spine. And then on the exhale, let the energy come up into your heart. As you breathe out your nostrils, let light come out of your heart. So we're inhaling through slightly open lips into the solar plexus, this fire center. Usually we just hold it there for just a little bit, just till it's comfortable, and let the heat build up in the solar plexus. But what we want to be doing is separating the heat energy and keeping it in the solar plexus. And let the light rise up into the heart. And then exhale it as we breathe out through our nostrils. So in from the front with slightly open lips, into the solar plexus. And then hold. And then exhale out through the nostrils, bringing the light out of the heart. And just continue that pattern. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get used to the habit of it. Inhale all the way back to the spine, through the solar plexus. And just hold. I'd suggest right now, inhale to the count of 8 or 6, and hold for the same amount. And then let the light rise up, and exhale. If you're familiar with the square breath, you can use that pattern here also, which would be inhale to the count of 8, hold for 16, exhale for 8. But do not strain with that. It's quite all right just to do 888 if you want, or 666. We just want time for the heat to build up. And exhale again, letting that light flow out. This will build your digestion. If you have any digestive problems, this is a fabulous breath for that. And the qualities of fire, we spoke of earth as patient and persevering, steady and strong. As we develop our fire element, energy within us. What you will discover is that you become more enthusiastic. Enthusiastic means entheos, the Greek, filled with the Spirit of God. That's the quality with this breath. We'll find more enthusiasm, we'll find more joy. We'll find ourselves with more humor, more fun. Find ourselves being more outgoing and willing to take risks. So what that means is we want to use it if we find ourselves filled with anxiety or fear. Use the fire breath. You could also use the water breath. But maybe do the water breath first, then go to the fire. The water can sort of cool and wash away the anxiety. But the fire builds up this willingness to step forward. That's why we're sending light forward. It builds up, our willingness to take risks. That means social risks. We can be more outgoing. Any kind of risk. If you find yourself afraid to act, the fire breath is a great tool. The other big divine qualities that come forth from this is great intuition. It somehow ties us in to the very light of the divine. It creates a great opportunity for inspiration. It comes with the air breath also, but also with fire. And the fire flame, believe it or not, is actually a joy flame. If we want more joy in our lives, we do this fire breath. So let's just play with that for a second. I invite you to bring up a scenario or a person, situation, where you would like to have more joy. What I want you to do is do this fire breath. Inhale, count of 8. Hold it. I'll say 8. You can do it longer. And then let the light move up into your heart, and then exhale through your nostrils and let that light flow into that situation, into that scenario. Is it okay if it becomes filled with light? And breathe in again through open lips. Hold the energy. Let the heat build up. And again, exhale the light, the right light rise to your heart. Fill that situation, that person with light. After you do that a few times, just check to see if that situation, when you look at it, feels like it's more filled with light. I think you'll start to notice that. So a few other things about this fire element. Many of you will discover that when you inhale to your solar plexus, that there's actually sort of a burning orange, reddish orange color in there, and the color of very hot coals in the fireplace. That's the color we associate with this chakra and this breath. And the movement associated, the direction is upward, heat rises. Remember, water flowed down and earth spread out. This is energy that rises. It's upward. It's why when we're depressed, we use this breath and it lifts the top of the heart. A depressed heart creates depression. The other major divine component of this breath, of this element, is truth. The fire of truth. That Vedic phrase, they burn up the seeds of karma in the fire of pure knowledge. Pure knowledge is truth. And anything that is out of alignment with the divine plan, when it is exposed to truth, has to realign. Here we are aligning with this great being of fire, this element of fire. Would it be okay with you if you allowed your whole system through this earth breath practice to become aligned with the vast universal intelligence of fire, with the vast universal energy of fire? We find fire in every cell in our body as it connects, synapses moving, reaching out, electromagnetic symbols, situation or signals being sent. All of that is fire. Is it okay with us if we honor the great wisdom and power of fire in our lives and in our world? The more we do this breath practice, the more aligned we become. The more we invite fire. And there will come a day, I believe this for you, I've experienced it myself, where you will find that fire just flows through your body, burning, purifying. And we are forevermore changed after that baptism of fire. It will show up differently for different people at different times. But I assure you that phrase in the Bible, baptism by fire, which we take to mean having to face the situation in the world and all the troubles and trials. But on a spiritual level, it is an incredible blessing. The fire pouring through our bodies, through our minds, through our hearts, purifying, burning away that which is not in alignment with the force of evolution. Now, Still keeping up this fire breath. Let's look at fire when it becomes distorted. And of course, in our own lives, we've seen ourselves get angry. We feel the flush of that anger. We might say things or do things that we later regret. This is what we call a distortion of the fire. That's on the personal level, and that's okay. There you just use the water breath. Balance that out. Or you ask the heart to transform that energy into purpose, into mission. Have you ever met a person on a mission? A person on fire about some cause? I'm thinking Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. Could be anything. Do you notice that there's this natural tendency to want to join anyone who's on fire? Not always, but we crave people with a mission. We crave people who know where they're going and what they're doing. Could you allow this truth to arise in yourself? Who you are, where you are going. The spirit of truth is also the spirit of guidance. Just check inside your heart. What is it that truly inspires your heart? What is it that you wish you would have done and just never did it? And that always nags at you. Could you allow this fire, the fire of mission, the fire of purpose to come forth in you? However it shows up for you. It could be a strong impulse to do and move and act, or it could just be this simmering fire, smoldering fire that just needs a little bit of breath to awaken. We look in the world and we see nature burning at times. We're coming into the fire season as the summer comes in. Can you check to see how you react internally when you read about or you see these vast burning infernos, mostly out west, also down south in Texas? How do you feel about fire? How do you feel about being burned by fire? Can you welcome up whatever reaction is there? Honor that reaction. You know, that fear of fire has actually been a very useful tool for us. But would it be okay with us if we claim that fear and allowed our common sense to protect us? It would be okay, wouldn't it? Simply using our common sense. And I think we all know that no matter how much we heal the fear of fire, when our fingers get near a flame, they're going to pull away. Could we just honor that body wisdom and at the same time welcome up any fear that we've been suppressing? Could we allow fire to be our friend? And could we allow the wisdom of the earth to burn when it's necessary to burn? Could we expand that freedom to Mother Nature? And still using our common sense in how to respond to a big fire. It's quite all right to put it out. But what we want is, we want to be loving fire rather than fearing fire. Loving the power of fire, loving the purifying quality of fire. And let's look at some other kinds of distortions of fire. And I'm going to suggest that things like solar flares, which for the most part are harmless to us, but every so often are so powerful, they can cause fires on the earth. In the late 1800s, there were some powerful solar flares that caused all the telegraph offices, the buildings that had wires, to burn, to catch fire. Could we ask for nature to be aligned with the sun, that only beneficial solar rays reach the earth? Another potential distortion of the fire element is all this Wi-Fi, 5G radiation. All of that is actually fire. It's not air, it's fire. Could we welcome up any fear that we have of electromagnetic pollution? I am personally of the opinion that it's a big problem and that it's far more powerful for us to react from our hearts than from fear. So just check to see if you have any fear about electromagnetic pollution, any sense of hopelessness. What can we do? What can I do? I'm one person. Welcome that energy up and let that be consumed in the fire of truth. The truth is, we are divine beings, filled with great intelligence, wisdom, power, and any one of us can step forward and make a difference, small or big. Which is going to feel better? To feel like we're the weak victims of this electromagnetic pollution? Or to step forth boldly with power and confidence, taking whatever steps we need to protect ourselves, stepping forth to challenge this potentially dangerous addition to our culture. Is it okay with us if we become beings of light? Power held in reserve in our solar plexus, light radiating wherever we are. Would that be okay with you? Check to see if you have any disbelief, any wondering how that's going to happen, any feeling like I've got so many problems, I can't step out like that. Could you allow this fire within yourself to simply consume and transform any feelings like that? Transform them into even more purpose, more mission, which is going to create a more enjoyable life for you. Living as a victim or living on fire with a purpose. And I suggest if you don't know your purpose, you just pick one and go forward, and it will change into purpose that aligns with your heart. Just act and let it show up. So could we just sit here now as beings of light, filled with fire, filled with purpose, filled with mission, filled with joy, living in truth. Could we allow ourselves to vibrate and resonate with these qualities? Just to whatever degree it works for you. That's all you need. Whatever shows up is perfect. And just take a few moments to slowly end this meditation. Just let this meditation end. Move your body around a little bit. Feel your feet on the ground. When it's comfortable, when it's convenient, just go ahead and open your eyes. So welcome to a life on fire. So, anyone with any gains? Anyone with any issues that got stirred up in this meditation with fire? Or anyone with an issue in their life that they'd just like to address? Good morning, Linda.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the length of this because my mind kept trying to solve situations and feelings of I have a lot of blessings in my life, but also this victimhood stuff that I wanted to burn up. And with the length of this, my mind quieted down and I was beginning to feel in charge of my life. And I felt like I was burning up that victimhood to where I could move forward in my life. And I want to thank you for that.
Wow, that's a
This,
beautiful gain.
this is a powerful tool. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Linda. Anyone else? Bobby, are you there? You go.
Hi, Sequoia Queen here.
Sequoia Queen. I love that. I love that.
15 acres. Thank you, everybody, for your level of focus. I could really feel it in my heart meditation, all of it together. This was a simple beginning of a full breath, counting, really able to surrender to a feeling of resistance at the gate, the beginning, feeling like there was like a lid a little bit tight, hard. And I tend to go for it. So I backed off from, like 10, holding twice, 10. And guidance just said, Sister, you don't have to work that hard for your fire. Down. Then went down to 8, and the resistance released more. I was able to feel some good sadness burning up. And then the gain was I just held steady at 6, with the hold. It's so gentle, sweet. Feel the flame be benevolent. And then that took me into just the grief of the Australian fires with the animal souls a couple years ago.
Yes.
With a volcano that is just letting it rip for the last several months. Felt all the lava. And the really deep part for me was I've worked in the OR, the operating room assistant, and I used to work on burn victims. So my job was to hand the burn skin to me, and I would put it through this old rolling machine to graft skin to be placed back on. And I just went into spending so much light, not anything on a mental level, that I swear connecting to every being that I ever had the privilege of existing in that, giving them their healing energy of being afraid of fire, and then at some point, and then have this connection with spirit. So it was very dimensional for this Bobby girl today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bobby.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much.
Very, very grateful. Mostly for the level of focus and crew.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the right way for it to go. I remember the stories with the animals and the Australian burning and how intense it must have been when you had a burn victim come into the operating room. So why don't we all, oh, wow. I'm feeling a reaction to that. Why don't we all just take a moment here and just imagine being burned? Okay? Just imagine being burned, or, your kids or your loved ones being burned. Comes up for you. Feel, none of us like it. It's not a pretty picture. We know how painful it is. Some of us, it'll be really, really intense. Some of us be not so intense. But it's an incredible practice to explore our fear of dying by imagining various ways. Hey, Bobby?
Yes.
You got a lot of background noise here. Thanks. So it's a very powerful practice in terms of this core fear of dying that we all have, to explore different ways of dying. So what I want you to do is I'll invite you to start with fire, but just check to see what you react to the most. You might think of drowning. You might think of being buried alive in the earth, or an earthquake or something like that. You might think of a lightning strike or poison or falling out of an airplane or whatever it is. What I want you to do is whatever has the most energy for you, simply be with it and let that energy dissipate. Just let it dissipate. One of the things that I do a lot is I help people discriminate. And that's the practice of truth. It's a fire practice. So let me ask you a question, a discriminating question while you do this. If you've got energy on something, on a way of dying, can you see that you try and avoid that image? You try and avoid those circumstances. But that in that process, we are really putting attention on that which we fear. There's a saying by Lester Levinson, fear it, appear it. What we fear shows up in our lives because we're putting our attention on it, even at a subconscious level. So by asking you to sort of explore which way you really don't want to die, we're asking the subconscious to show up and reveal to us unconscious hidden energies. And could you look at that with the light of truth? How likely is it really that you're going to die from being burned or drowning or buried alive or whatever, lightning, whatever it is, poison, car accident? How likely is it? And that discrimination actually frees up a lot of energy. It's the light of truth. Could you recognize that? Not that likely. That it's just energy stored up from some impression that we either came to in this lifetime or we were born with it. Would it be okay with us if we just welcome that energy up and greet it with love? That'd be okay with you to greet it with love, whatever that energy is. Greet it with love. And to take this a little further, I realize we're going very deeply here, so if it's not comfortable, just open your eyes and don't go here. But I invite you to explore this statement. I look forward to dying. And see if any reaction comes up. Whatever reaction comes up, could you just greet it with love? Just be with it. It's just energy on the fear of dying. What you'll discover is As you loosen your fear of dying, you become free to live more. It's a paradox. It's a strange thing. We heal our fear of dying, and that's just a wound, a distorted energy within us. It doesn't mean that we're looking to die. It just means that that fear of dying doesn't run our life. And as we explore this more and more, what you discover is all the other fears in our life can be boiled down to, distilled down to this fear of dying. And once we heal this, once we illuminate this with the light of truth, truth is we're going to die when we die, right? Would it be okay with you if you allow the deep wisdom of your heart to set the time of your death? Could you allow this deep wisdom of your heart, this deep truth of your being, to live on this planet, on this plane, all the while developing spiritually, growing spiritually into who we truly are? And when we've developed to the degree that we can, is it okay with us if we drop our bodies? And could you allow the depth of your heart, your soul, your blueprint to determine that point and sit with the knowledge that it is absolutely perfect, that the depth of our hearts will drop these bodies when we can evolve faster and more quickly on the next plane? That'd be okay with you. It says in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, there are 5 causes of suffering. And one of them is the fear of dying, the fear of death. We heal that fear, and the amount of suffering in our lives just drops dramatically. It also speaks of our attachments and our aversions. And I think it's referring not to, we all want to be loved, get it? But it's a craving for that runs our lives, a distortion of that energy that we want to heal. And the aversions are the fears, what we don't want to happen. Again, only the distortions. We don't want to be burned. That's totally fine. But if that fear runs our lives, we want to heal that. They speak of egotism. And I'll say that the cause of suffering is living in our minds rather than living in our hearts. That's what we mean by egotism there. The ego running things rather than our hearts running things. Would it be okay with us? We'll go back to the fear of dying. Would it be okay with us if we let the light of truth take a clear look at dying and see that it is just the next step of our spiritual evolution? Take a moment check with your mind to see if it's afraid of dying. I'm sure your mind is going to say yes, it's afraid of dying. Now go deeply within your heart and ask your heart if it's afraid of dying. I'm going to suggest to you, anything could come up here, and take whatever answer you get, but that the heart knows when the body is going to drop and is totally at peace with it at the very deepest levels of the heart. There may be some wounds of the heart that speak, say yes, and that's okay too. It just means that there's some energy there that wants to be healed. Now, let's take the other side of this. Check to see if you want to live a long time. I get a big yes to that personally. And again, the light of truth. Do we really know what causes some people to live longer than others? We have ideas, we have hints, we have theories, we have possibilities. But I've had people who lived the most pure, chaste, dietary pure, to bed at 8 o'clock at night, exercising every day, doing their yoga, this and that, meditating twice a day, and they get breast cancer at age 56 and die. You do everything right, you walk across the street and a bus hits you. Could we acknowledge with this deep light of truth that there is something else in charge of how long we live? And can we do all the things we know to do that are healthy, that we think promote longevity? Can we do them just purely for the quality of life that we want, the quality of health, and just recognize that something deep within us is going to control how long we live? Could we allow ourselves to be at peace with a long life? Most people will say yes. Could we allow ourselves to be at peace with not knowing how long we will live? Why not? We don't know anyway. Could we allow ourselves to be at peace with living the very best life we can live, even if we die tomorrow? Many traditions of the world personify death. It's a being who comes. Would it be okay with us if we have that image? If we welcome up this image of death and greet it with love? Feel whatever feels, feel whatever energies come up. Love the energies. Let them dissolve. Let your heart shine forth. Could you greet death with love? With the certainty that we are merely beginning the next phase of our spiritual evolution. We don't know what that is. Could we just greet it with love, with confidence, with peace? And from this place of peace, we just open our eyes. And if anyone had any difficulty with that, please let me know. It's actually something in the last school that I was in, it was something that we would never do this early. But I have the feeling, I just have the sense that this group is going so deeply we could do that. So if anyone got stirred up, let me know. Maybe I'll work with you. Or if you're at peace, congratulations. It'll change your life to have a loving relationship with your fear of death. It will just change your life. Yes, Linda.
Yeah, I had a very beautiful experience, and I had like an angel come to me and ask, do you feel fulfilled in your purposes yet? And I said, no. And I feel like I need to continue to live to fulfill my purpose. And it was like my choice. And it was like, all right, yes, it was like I was involved in that purpose and not a victim to it. I was involved in it, and it felt very, very peaceful and kind and beautiful. So, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that very much. Bobby, thank you very much for bringing this up. It's really a great gift to us. You're moving your lips. I know you're talking.
The Sequoia Queen. The game here is in your immersion. Could have been the COVID. It could have been loving what separates us. I can't remember. But we went into the sphere of death. And the change today from going in with the group, I want to say again, with the group heart, it's a totally different experience. It's just, I welcome it. I welcome whatever the next experience is, if it's death so just thank you for the clarity of guidance. I'm really grateful.
Sure. Thank you so much, Bobby. All right, anyone else? Jeff, one of these days, are you going to lead us in a release? We have
JD, are you there, JD?
Hey, Jeff.
JD.
I don't know.
Jeff, let me introduce you here. So
sure.
Jeff is an extraordinary teacher of the release technique, which is where I was a teacher also for a while. And so he's joining us here. He comes in. I see you quite often, actually. It's really nice. But just a phenomenal man. So God bless you for being here, Jeff.
Thanks, Steve. It's so wonderful to be in this class. It's just remarkable how deep everyone's going, and I'm just grateful to be to listen in and be part of the group. Yeah.
I know it's fun to not teach. I know that.
It's good to do it. It's good not to do it. It's good both ways.
Both ways. Both ways.
Yeah,
anyway.
we're all participants, all of us. Yeah.
Me too. Believe me.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
So what happened is I used to teach the release technique, I really worked, it's fabulously works well. But what I found was that I wanted more heart. And so I took a lot of the stuff from the release technique and I just started pulling in the principles from I Am Heart and shifting it that way. So I tend not to just let energy go because the heart doesn't let it go. The heart wants to transform it. And, you know, even in I Am Heart, we have this flavor that wounds are our enemies. And I had to start changing that, you know, because we just think, oh, they have wounds, we got to get rid of this and that. And they're actually some part of us that are really valuable. So the heart just as keeps transforming my own path. And God bless Peron and Susanna, because they just said, no, just, you know, just bring it out. Everybody brings out wisdom in their own way, in their own path. And so I just had to apply the releasing principles to the heart, which is not to release, but is to love and to join and to transform. But the subtlety and the way of addressing and asking for things to show up was so brilliant. That was this fellow Lester Levinson who brought it forth. So that's Jeff's background also, and so I'm just giving.
Beautiful to share how that integrates with release. Yeah. I really get it. I've been working with other people that are doing both, and it really adds to the whole body and the whole energetic field experience. So I think it's
the other big difference is in releasing. The tendency is to go into beingness, which is not a bad thing at all. It's a fabulous thing, but my experience with going into the universal heart was just warmer, more complete, more inclusive. And so that's, you know, just the flavors that go. But, you know, honestly, people go into beingness, they can really move a lot of energy.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's just where it goes. Yes.
But isn't beingness the universal energy? Isn't it the same?
Well, it's one and the same. And if I don't want to get us in our heads, but I'll answer this, okay? Because everyone, and I invite everyone, by the way, to ask your hearts. So Anna, I'll ask you this. Check in with your heart just to see if there is a different flavor to beingness as compared to the universal heart. Just take a minute, everybody. And maybe you notice it, maybe you don't.
I don't notice it. To me, it's one and the same.
It's okay, good. Let me suggest to you that, and I'll just give you my picture here, is that there's sort of two legs. One is consciousness and one is energy, or you could say intelligence. Okay, or beingness and energy or intelligence. They're really two sides of the same coin. Okay, but that, and I mentioned this once before, when you transcend through your mind, my experience was eternal bliss consciousness, Sat Chit Ananda, and vast, infinite spaciousness, but very, you know, completely silent, nothing's going on, but almost cool and sterile. Okay? When I transcended through my heart, and that just happens when you're ready for it. Okay? But I went into this field that was just like eternal bliss consciousness. It was eternal, but the bliss had more of a warmth and more of a love. So it's more like eternal loving energy was the experience. And that's why I brought out that analogy the other day of walking inside of a glorious mansion, a temple, let's say, or not just a mansion. You walk in through the servant's entrance, and that colors your experience when you get inside the great room. Walk in the front door and you're greeted like that, gives you a different experience, even though it's the same great room. So I would never fault anyone for exploring consciousness and beingness. But what we do here at I Am Heart, and I just am so amazed at what Peron and Susanna did, okay? Because they took all these teachings of this great master who honestly taught a great deal of consciousness, Hazrat Naid Khan, but who also said in the coming years, spirituality will move to the heart. Peron and Susanna went through and found all the references to the heart, and sort of between that and the Desert Fathers and Desert Mothers, who were very heart-centered, they pulled together this way of accessing the infinite nature through the heart. And let me ask the basic question. Which would you prefer, to have a quiet, peaceful mind or a loving and open heart? Okay?
To me, it's the same, because you're either in your heart or in your mind.
Yes, but I will tell you, and I live in a community of about 2,500 meditators, TM meditators, been here since 1984. It's a long time. And, you know, that is a practice of transcending through the mind, experiencing eternal bliss consciousness. It really works. It's a wonderful practice. And yet, when I walk around the town and I meet all my old friends who I dearly love, you would never call them amazing, heart-centered beings. Call them deep, quiet, present. But that part was never really brought forth. Okay? And again, it's a question. You know, they're very happy living in bliss, quiet minds, this, and this. I find loving, open heart, the divine qualities of the heart, far richer.
Oh, I understand compassion.
Yes.
I
Yes.
understand, because I understand, because I'm understanding more. I mean, I started out as a releaser, and that's how I found you, through Jeannie. And then last November, and then I had a dream, and a man came to me and he handed me a handful of what were they? Olives, and some of them were still on the branch, some were off. And he asked me if I was ready to plant the olives. And he said that the future of America was going to be love, and I knew it was coming from God.
Wow.
So I said yes. And so then I started planting them in my dining room, and they kept growing and growing, and a few became hundreds, and hundreds became thousands, and I had to move out of my house because I just kept accumulating more and more seeds to plant. So that's why I keep on with the heart meditation, because that, I said yes. So I just keep being carried along.
Well, it sounds like you got a very clear guidance to your purpose here, huh?
I don't know. I just know that I'm just following.
Yes.
I'm just following.
Wow, that's a beautiful story.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, and then Prawn. Then I took Prawn's class, and it was just before I took Prawn's the last class that I had the dream. And I wondered if it was Prawn who had given me the olive. Because it was a man that I didn't know.
I will tell you, Peron, both of them they're both so humble and they're so simple. But on my own inner level of experience, I've had extraordinary experiences with both of them. So it would not shock me at all. I'll tell you one story about Peron. I know we're getting running late here, but it's up here. I had a nephew who committed suicide. Threw himself on a train track. And in our town, we've had 4 suicides like that over the last 8 years or so. And I was very clear there was some entity going from kid to kid to kid. And so one day, deep in meditation, I demanded justice. I tell you, you put out a call like that from the depth of your heart, the universe responds. And this entity came before me. Now, this is a wild story, so the fact that you're here this long, I'm going to take it you're ready for it. This entity came before me, and I realized that in the cosmic realms, when a person makes a call for justice, they are both like the prosecutor and the judge, the decider. But you're responsible for your decision. And I would have been thinking that this entity should be, and I realized I had this authority. I had the authority to separate in this entity their energy and their intelligence. Okay? In other words, a final death for this being. And once this being realized that was on the table, it went berserk and started flying all over the place. I called in Archangel Michael, who just clamped it down. And then this being said to me, this is an entirely inappropriate, verdict if you go there, that I am just, like the wolf that preys on the deer and, attacking the weakest deer. And besides, it said, your nephew was fine. And I could see my nephew was fine. So I realized this is totally inappropriate. And it was just my stuff coming up. So I go, what do I do here? And then here's where Puran comes in. Puran had once told us, he said, if you ever run into an entity that needs help moving to the other side, call on me. So I called on Puran. Puran showed up. All this is in deep meditation. Took one look at the situation, said, this being needs to go to the other side. and took it over there. That's what Puran did. And I sat there and I thought, wait a second. That feels more like a reward than a punishment here, right? And then I was given to see that as long as this being was on this side, karma is buffered and delayed. But we don't all get instant karma. And the reason for that is we get to learn and grow and then handle the karma as it comes back. But on the other side, this being was going to experience, with no buffering, with no protection, all the pain that it had created. And I realized that was absolute perfect justice. So if you guys can believe stories like that or not, it's okay. I know it's way out there, but that was Puran. And there's stories about symbols like that, not the same kind of stories, but with Susanna, they're just extraordinary beings. So that's my story.
And you're sticking to it.
Yeah, it's, as real as anything that happens in this planet for me.
Yeah. No, I've seen stuff like that. I've seen, like, when my brother died, I've seen stuff like that. So I'll be sure to call in Pearl next time.
Anyway, you guys, breathe that in. Take that in as truth or not, whatever, filter it with your own truth meter. And God bless us all.
Thank you, Stephen. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And so tomorrow is the air element, one of my favorites. See you tomorrow, huh? What's left to you all?
Namaste.
Okay.